Is no result.
Kate Steak for today. We have two guest stars, Susan and Scott, the parents. Today's take is parents can be your friends, but in the end, overall, they need to be your parents. So, that's the take on it. Susan and Scott are sitting on the head of the lake. Yes?
Yes.
Goose Flat,
What's flat?
the Great Goose Prairie.
Oh, yes. Goose Lake, Great Goose Prairie. There's no water in it currently, or a very, very small amount all the way south. So,
No, it's a 30-mile by 15-mile dry flat.
yes.
So
Yes. Trin, what are you doing down there?
we're pumping the water.
And sighting in Susan's gun for elk season, which is super exciting because that's coming up quick.
It is.
They're gonna go hunt in Idaho. What's your season in October?
Elk season.
Thank you.
End of October to the first part of November.
So it is coming up quick. You guys need to do. Did you guys go on a hike yet this morning?
No, ma'am. We had special breakfast with sausage and pancakes instead.
Boom.
I did. I went on a hike.
I think you just changed water.
Yeah, but I hiked to do it.
Okay, that's fair. So back to Kate Steak. I think parents can be your friends because the two of y'all are two of my best friends. But I think at some point in time, even like as kids, we still need you to be our parent, even though we don't necessarily want you to be all the time. And I talked about it with Becca some, and I was like, I can't really remember a time where I'm like, you know what? I think that Scott and Susan are like parents, where I'm like, I would rather them be my parent in this situation than my friend. And the best that we could think about is high school. Like, I feel like there have been small moments of actual. Bye, Clay.
Bye, Clay.
Leaves every time in the middle of the podcast. That there have been like small moments recently, like since I've been out of high school, that y'all have actually needed to like step in and parent versus be a friend. What do y'all think?
Yeah, pretty consistently, really.
Yeah. I think y'all like. I think to all three of us. So older brother Nick, I'm the middle. Becca's the youngest. I think all three of us across the board, especially in the last like 4 or 5 years, y'all have been more friends than parents. And I don't think your kids are ever raised, but I think that after high school, like once we got into college a little ways, for the most part we were. And so y'all have been able to be our friends more so than our parents.
Yeah, I don't know. If I didn't call and get you up every morning,
Yeah.
tell y'all what time to go to bed. I don't,
Right.
check your menu, things like that.
Yeah. Make sure I eat, stuff like that. I know, it's difficult for you to be up at 2 a.m. to call me to make sure I get up at 4. So it's been hard on
That's
you, I
part
know.
it's part of being a parent, Kate.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I appreciate the work that you put in.
Somebody's got to.
I know, somebody has to. So what do y'all think from the parents' perspective? At what point in time did y'all feel like, or certain situations, did y'all feel like Kate, Becca, Nick, they need a parent in this situation versus it's okay to be their friend in this situation?
Well, like last week, we went, I think they're doing okay, all of us. And I think we can be more friends than parents.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it happened earlier than that. I think
It wasn't just last week.
now you go through stages though. I think it's much more intensive being a parent when you guys are up until that high school age.
Yeah.
And but you have an awful lot of control because you can control so many aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And so you can interject friendship back and forth, but you really are doing a lot of parenting.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then as you moved out into that college phase, there was more friend stuff interjected. You feel more comfortable now that that child is showing good judgment or making good decisions.
Whoa.
Which one showed good judgment?
I was like, I showed good judgment from the get-go.
No, no, no.
What are you talking about?
Laying down in the alfalfa field watching Nick change the wheel lines.
Yeah, good judgment. Work smarter, not harder. Nick was going to do it anyway.
There were some things that you really manipulated. Both Nick and Becca changed wheel lines, and I don't remember you ever changing a wheel line by yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to be 100% honest. I didn't do a whole lot of wheel line changing by myself.
And how many days did you sit on a swather?
But a fair amount. But I will say I am the child, young adult, whatever I am now, that when I go home, I'm the one that goes with Dad to do stuff. To go
You tag
change.
him quite a bit when you're home now.
Yeah.
That's true.
To go change water, to go feed, to go do stuff like that. So
Is that
I
because you
think we
want to help, or
traumatized. Go ahead.
is that because you want to help, or is that just because you want to get out of the house and do something?
both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah. I want to go hang out and spend time, but at the same time I'm like, well, like I like feeding. I like to go do stuff like that where I don't sit still well. I like to be out and doing things. And no, I know. I have this like little twisty tie that this is from last week too that I've been messing with nonstop. So I don't sit still well to begin with. So it makes it easier to want to go do things. I just also don't vacation well, and that's normally when I'm at home. But Scott and Susan don't vacation well either. So that's where I get it from.
Not true. We went to McCall. We sat down.
Yeah, you told Becca we did some thrift shopping, and Dad's like, see if you can find a water ski. Did I tell you this, Taylor? He's like, Beck, see if you can find a water ski. And Becca's just like, Dad, there's no point in getting a water ski unless we rent a boat. He's like, just tell him you're looking for a cross-country water ski. And she was so disgusted. And I feel like in that instance, more so like, I'm like, that's my friend, and that was funny. Like, that's definitely not a parenting moment where you're like, just ask him for a cross-country water ski. Becca was pissed.
It was only funny because of how irritated Becca was.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah. Why would I do that?
See, I can see the reaction. Like,
Yeah.
I can picture that reaction
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's making it so much funnier.
Yeah. Just like, you idiot. It was pretty funny. No, you guys, we did better in McCall, but that was the second family vacation we've taken in my almost 24 years of life.
Y'all live in
Every day's a vacation. Yeah, every day's a vacation with us as your parents.
As my friends, maybe. Not as my parents.
Hey, I have to interject here, and this is for Taylor.
Uh-huh.
I was in a staff meeting this week, and I was telling them that we were talking about databases, and I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, let's go. What'd you tell them?
I told them the joke about where dads keep all their jokes in the database, and it's a hot room on a Friday afternoon.
And they're
they
like,
didn't want to
you're
be
dumb.
there, and there's just this silence. And they just look at me. Thankfully, my vice principal's great to me, and he laughed and thought it was funny.
That's because
I couldn't stand it.
That's because Counts is a dad, and Counts tells the best dad jokes, but they're science dad jokes because he used to be a science teacher. They're fantastic.
Sounds like it's right up my alley.
Yeah.
And honestly, all it takes is one chuckle or one sigh, like we talked about, to keep it going and get that affirmation.
Yeah.
That's all that needs to fuel it.
Just keep rocking and rolling. I'm here for it. Yeah. I think in high school y'all were more parents, like you said, because you had more control of things where you're like, you need to be home by this time. Or like you can't go out every single night of the weekend. Stuff like that.
What was your favorite thing that we used to tell you, Kate, that used to really irritate you?
I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically like, if you think it's a good idea, like, use your judgment. You make your own decision if you think it's a good idea. And I'm like, well, shit, now I don't think it is a good idea.
Ooh, knuckles, Scott. Mission accomplished.
Well, like, half the time when y'all are like, if you think that's a good idea, then you should do that. And half the time it really was a good idea when I was like, we should go to Texas because I'm not going to school here. Well, it's been fan-freaking-tastic. But also at the end, I was like, I should apply to UNR. And Mom's like, I'm not paying your application fee. I was like, I'm not playing to UNR. So, no, I got told that a lot. If you think that's a good idea, go ahead and do that. And I'm like, well.
See, I think that's kind of like different personnel type deal too. Like, just outside looking in, I feel like that was garnered towards you more say, and that's different for each individual and each kid.
Yeah.
Because I know if I was told that by my parents,
you'd be like, let's go.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm just doing it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
and I think you're on the right track with that, Taylor, because we have three children, and you look at, the same environment, the same genetics, the same, everything. And yet what works for one to motivate them or hold leverage over them to get them to make the right decision or guide them was very different than the others. For example,
I was the easiest. That's the example.
We spanked our kids, and if I swatted Kate, she'd just look at you defiantly.
Yeah.
There was no point in spanking Kate.
But I also was born, picked my head up, and screamed. And Dad's like, yep, she should be fine. Yep.
If you told Kate you were disappointed in her, it just crushed her. So you figure out what motivated each one of them. Yeah. Becca did not like to get spanked. So she
got the most beatings out of all the kids. But
and if like 4, total.
She had several friends.
Parent math is so bad too. So bad.
Oh yeah, like 4. No, she had at least. She had Mr. Hanger was her friend. Mr. Belt, Mr. Spoon. I don't think we ever actually got Mr. Paddle. That one was actually handmade by Scott. And it was.
I know, but we talked about it way more than your mother. Like, I never paddled her, I can remember, but we talked about going to get Mr. Paddle, and she would scream and wiggle and fall on the floor, and then you'd start laughing.
No. My favorite, like, the 3 of us together fixing to get in trouble story was when we were I cannot remember what we did, but Mom was livid, like smoke coming out of her ears, mad. And she went and got a spatula, like the like rubber-ended, wooden-handled spatula out of the drawer, and she's like, mudroom, and the 3 of us, march straight in there, assume the position, and she's so mad, and she flings her arm back, and I think she was going to hit Nick first, like oldest first, I can't remember, but flings her arm back, and the head of that spatula comes flying off and hits the wall. And all 3 of us look at each other like, that was really funny, but we can't laugh because we're about to get beat. Like, and then Mom just like, still so mad. She looks at the 3 of us. She's like, go. Like, literally go anywhere else right now or I'm going to get mad. That's probably my favorite, like, almost getting spanked, but not story.
All right, Susan, in that moment, were you mad or were you trying to, like, hold back laughter from that happening? And you just had to keep a serious face on to keep the tone and keep the mood?
It was twofold. I was still mad because I didn't get to follow through with my anger and give them a swat, but I was laughing because it was really pretty funny. But I want you to note that no one got a spanking when they put all the snakes in the mailbox.
That's because it was Sunday and you didn't even go out there. But also, I thought you were going to bring...
the snakes in the bucket in the house.
That's what I was going to bring up. Mom hates snakes. And when we were building the house, Becca and I caught like a 5-gallon bucket. We put a couple inches of water in the bottom and then put, I don't know, there were probably 20 or 30 snakes in there. And I can't remember. Dad was bebopping around doing something and Mom was inside of, like, it wasn't finished or anything. And we're like, Mom, look what we set by the door. I thought we were both going to die. Like, luckily, we just booked it outside. She's like, come get these snakes.
This gives you some insight, Taylor, as to what kind of children they were as well.
See, my dad's deathly afraid of snakes too. So we killed a rattlesnake, skinned it, and put it at the bottom of his sleeping bag, all coiled up. So whenever he crawled in to go to bed about midnight, that's what he felt was the scales rub across his feet. And he was over there trying to jump out of the sleeping bag while it was zipped up, like couldn't move. Heck of a potato sack race is what we saw out of the cabin as he takes off running down the Cleachy Road barefoot, trying to get away from that snake that was in his sleeping bag. So
at that point in time, you would get parented. You would not be friended.
He couldn't, because afterwards he was laughing so bad and my uncles were laughing too hard about it. So it's like, that was always the rule. If they laughed, you can't get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that was necessarily the case at our house. But I don't know. Like, I don't remember being like in deep trouble. We were never grounded as children ever. Right?
I don't remember grounding you. I remember having conversations with you guys about, you've been going quite a bit and how are your grades, and maybe you ought to think about.
You need to slow down some
And focus on grades. And then for you in different times it was, you need to get some rest because you're going too hard. But that conversation continues still today.
Yeah.
As a parent, there's times when you look at something real objectively on the outside looking in, right?
Yeah.
And even just last week I said, hey, maybe you ought to prioritize some things and cut some things back.
Right.
As a parent, that doesn't mean you're going to do it, because like we said before, there's a lot less control.
Yeah.
We're there to guide and to help. And the good news is whether you want our advice or not, it's always free. You never have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I think getting older too, there's a lot more times where I call y'all as friends. Like, hey, like I did this today, blah, blah, blah. Which, like, I feel like it's a common thing where, like, after you move out, you just annoy your mom with, like, the grass is really green today, look. And she's like, I don't actually care. But you have to be like, yeah, honey, it's very green, you idiot.
We try and push back a little bit, Kate, but not be unkind when we say things like, we think it's great that we're FaceTiming while you brush your teeth, but we're going to go ahead and go to bed.
You have not done that in years.
or we get a picture of what we're having for dinner, like broccoli. We're like, awesome.
That's because I make
cool looking broccoli.
I make some good meal prep. I don't eat broccoli anymore, by the way.
No, you do. You do a lot of meal prep.
I made a green chili chicken and an egg bake, and I'm super excited about both of them. So
we actually can't give you a hard time about that because we send you videos of dogs because they're our friends. Our house is devoid of children.
I literally got one this morning. Mom has a Westie. Her name is Rue, but we call her Bigley. And Bigley is sitting in the irrigation pickup covered in mud, looking very pitiful. I literally got one this morning, which, like, I'm not complaining. I think it's a good time. I think it's fun.
So what are some things that you and Kate and Taylor would take forward and use with your kids? Because you always say, I'm not going to be like my parents when I get to be that parenting stage. And you guys aren't parents yet, but what are some things that you guys would have found valuable?
So I don't think either of us are going to answer that because neither of us want kids. So pass. Pick another question. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. If I do have kids, I 100% plan on them living in my childhood bedroom and you raising them.
Could you repeat that one more time?
I said I 100% plan on, if I have kids, they're going to go live in my room upstairs and you and Scott are going to raise them. They're going to go to Scott's boot camp.
That is exactly what I thought you said. I just wanted to be sure. No, I don't think that's the plan that we had.
Why?
You don't want to put the parent and grandparent?
Yeah, see?
No, I'm way up for the grandparent thing and the spoiling thing. and doing all that. But the children must return to their parents for utility reasons, bathing, feeding,
Nah.
changing, those kinds of things.
Those are all the reasons
We've
I
already
don't
been
want
there
one.
and done that.
Well, that foils my plan.
Yeah, but for real,
Okay.
to kind of answer your question,
Yeah.
you know, for me, it's definitely taking the presence, being present
Yeah.
during the childhood. Because,
Yeah.
like, I can remember very, very clear memories and, like, very good memories of award ceremonies my parents were at,
Yeah.
sporting games my parents were at, supporting me.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I didn't recognize that. But as I got
That's
older,
true.
looking back, like, that was huge.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Also, I know all the best hiding spots for the wooden spoons and Miss Patty, so my kids are going to have to be better than me.
Yeah. Facts. Facts. Yeah. I think with Dad, like, he didn't get to come to as much stuff, but I also hated 90% of the sports that I played. So I was like, like, I don't really want to be here, so, like, I don't expect you to be here. And the fact that both of them work more than full time. So I was like, he was always at horse stuff, came to horse stuff, and that's the stuff that, like, really mattered. So, and it's not that that's why I would like to say we, but also I was 6 and I'm like, yeah, I'm in charge. But they decided to move from Idaho back to Oregon because he wasn't around very much. He was working like 80-hour weeks. So we didn't get to see him. Nick had to have been like 8. We were like 8, 6, and 4, something like that when we moved back. So they made that change, like you're saying, to be present for us. So
Yeah, and I mean, I remember whenever I was probably, well, it was from whenever I was 11 to 16. Dad was having to work out of town a lot.
yeah,
Just because that's what he had to do. Make
Yeah.
sure bills were paid,
right.
take care of his responsibilities that he had.
Yeah,
And so, like, I love seeing him, but going through that little 5-year span, there were rough times naturally.
Right.
Because I was an idiot teenage boy who had testosterone flowing in me, and I thought I was man of the house, and
yeah.
got put in my place a couple times. But I mean,
I think that happens with any teenager though. Like regardless of if parents are there or not, there's that rough patch of like whether it's you, like a dude or like even me. I was like, no, I don't need you people. Like I'm gonna do my own thing. So
yeah. But I mean, going through that, it really kind of set forth what I wanted to do as a job,
yeah,
and really kind of pushed me towards the degree that I had, because it could be
right.
just an 8 to 5er,
Yeah.
a stable 8 to 5 type
Yeah.
of situation.
Which you're gone some with your job, but I feel like it comes in spurts of like you're gone like a couple weeks or like weekends or whatever in a row, but then you're home for a long period of time.
And I always say yes to that.
Yeah, that's
like, there's
true.
a difference. I always have the option to say no.
Right. Yeah.
Which is huge to me. But you brought up another point, and I think it kind of correlates when parents, like that line where parents are almost done parenting and become more friends.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Yeah.
whenever the kids recognize that the parents aren't just the dumbest people in the entire world, and they actually like start recognizing,
Yeah.
oh, what you're saying has been right,
Oh, what? That
and
makes
you've actually
sense.
done this before. What?
What?
So you do know what we're talking about.
Well, like I think that comes in everybody's life, whether it's parents or not. Once you realize, so I don't have to make the mistake. You can just tell me don't do dumb things, and then if I don't do them, I don't like have to face the repercussions of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge especially as parents.
So did y'all see that line, Scott and Susan, whenever, like I said, stop being like the
Yeah.
idiots and
Yeah.
actually intelligent like y'all are, but
Yeah.
being recognized for that?
Yeah.
And how did that correlate from the parenting to friend
Yeah.
kind of relationship?
It was a very long, several years. It begins when they're 12
Yeah.
and then levels out about 22. And so for about 10 years, you're one of the dumbest people that they know. And then you start to get smarter. And so one of our children was always in that phase. So
I
Yeah.
thought
we're pretty used to it.
okay, but I thought y'all were pretty cool when I was like 19 because I was in Texas by myself and I talked to y'all all the time.
I know you did, sis, and you came out of that a little earlier, but I'm just saying, like an average range. You start to get smarter as a parent as your child ages, and about 22ish is where they start kind of banging around. The world knocks them around a little bit, right? There's some hard
Yeah.
knocks out there, and the kid goes, oh, I think I heard this somewhere before. Let me recall
Yeah.
where I heard this.
Yeah.
And for 500 times, the parent said, well, you do what you think's best, you know?
Boo.
I know.
So how old is Becca? Because you said a pretty hard 12 to 22 on that.
She's 21 right
Ev-
now.
Everybody is different. Becca is an old soul, though. So Becca has a perspective from being an old soul. There are still things that we don't always see eye to eye on, though.
Like what?
And so we have to agree to disagree sometimes.
Like what?
Like what?
I don't know. I don't think this is Becca's take. I think this is Kate's take.
It is Kate's take.
So instead of pointing the finger at Becca, what if the finger gets pointed back at you?
Ooh. About when I was dumb being an idiot?
Yeah. When you think that is versus when they think that was.
No. Kate just pushed back on all kinds of different things, not necessarily with us.
Because I'm an independent woman.
But she struggled at different times to understand the world that she was living in and why people couldn't follow the rules because she was very OCD and black and white. So high school was really hard for her when young people were making really dumb decisions and they wouldn't follow the rules. And that would frustrate her to no end. And so as a parent, you needed to kind of help guide her. And then if a teacher was not maybe very mature or organized or with, there was a struggle there. So you had to help guide her that maybe your teacher's not the best, but you still need to be respectful and jump through the hoops that you need to get the grade that you need to within the system.
Yeah, you played the game. Scott said that a lot. I feel like, too, that our relationship changed a lot when I was, like, done being angry all the time, which was, like, my sophomore, junior year of high school was when I kind of, like, I was an angry, angry child nonstop. And then probably, wouldn't you guys say, like, my sophomore, junior year of high school, I started to mellow out a lot more. Like, not even close to as mellow as I am now, but mellow out a lot more.
There's truth in that. Yep.
Yeah. It was like, looking back, I'm like, girl, what were you so angry about? I'm like, I don't even know. I was just mad all the time. It's so much easier to not be. Kuna Matata. Taylor says that all the time.
Yeah, you can't steal my line like that.
Okay, fine. Potato, tomato, whatever. Yeah. I was waiting for that. Obviously, Taylor doesn't like that line.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Scott, what was it like raising, basically a female version of you?
Well, obviously I didn't have to raise you because you had good judgment from the beginning.
Facts. Yeah, I agree.
I remember one time you thought you were wrong, but you were actually right, and that was the only time I think you were wrong.
Yeah. What was it about? Do you remember?
Well, you thought you were wrong, but you weren't.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, that sounds about right. But now I'm like, if you want to argue with me, like, okay, tell me 2 + 2 = 7, and I'll be like, sounds great.
False.
Okay, yeah. Like, depending on, most of the time, though, I'm like, if it doesn't matter, I'm like, whatever. If it's Kate's take, then, like, bring it and let's go. But, like, I'll argue for argument's sake, like, for fun. But if it's something that I'm like, you know what, I don't care. I don't care. Sounds good. You do whatever you think. You do whatever you think is right. Oh, how the turntables have turned.
All right, another question for y'all. What has been the most, like, rewarding part of being parents?
Scott?
It was a friendship,
Yeah.
doing the stuff together.
Yeah. I think so too. Like as a kid on that part, like the fact that the 5 of us, if we had choice to go on vacation, we would choose to go like the 5 of us. Like Becca and Nick might bring their significant others, so I can 7th wheel, which is fine. But like the 5 of us genuinely enjoy spending time together. Like if we're at home at the end of the night, we normally don't like sit down and watch TV. Like the 5 of us, 4 of us, 3 of us, however many are home, will like sit in the big room and visit with each other versus not, I guess. So I think all 5 of us are pretty good friends.
And then just tape up the sink sprayer so that way you spray everyone at 6 a.m. in the morning.
That was a long time ago, huh? Yeah.
It was with a hair rubber band thing.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Taylor thinks it's so funny that it got Taylor thinks it's really funny that it got 3 of you. Like, got Dad in the middle of the night, Mom in the morning, and then, like, got Nick. Or Mom and Nick were switched. I can't remember. But I got three of the 4, which is not bad.
See, the
Yeah,
best part's the first 2 didn't take it
Yeah.
off, so it got a third. Like,
Yeah.
first person
Yeah.
didn't take it off, second
Yeah.
person didn't take it
Yeah.
off, ended up getting 3 on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the look on Susan's face when she got squirted and accused me, and I said, "Hey, it wasn't me. It was like that at midnight when I was there."
But I didn't fix it.
Well, I was asked that question.
We're just taught to pay it forward. That's all it is.
Yeah.
We're just passing it forward.
Exactly. It was a good one. Susan, what's your favorite part about the parenting, having children thing?
It maybe not is my favorite, but it brings me a lot of peace, and it brings me a lot of joy to know that I was close with my sisters growing up, but I didn't have that family unity.
Yeah.
And I think you said it pretty well in that I know that if something happened to me today, that my kids can depend on each other
Yeah.
through good and bad times.
Yeah.
And we have had just some incredible experiences and visits, all 5 of us together, and we're excited for the next step where we welcome significant others into our family.
Boo.
And it's an accomplishment to bring everybody to that level and know that they're all going to be okay and be able to take care of themselves and each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like, between the 3 of us, like, people tell me all the time about having, like, knockdown, drag-out fights with their siblings. And I'm like, shoot, the biggest thing we argued about was freaking charger cords.
Hey, wait, that was a significant issue.
It was.
Yes, it was.
And how did you
Almost
solve
daily.
it? How did you solve it, Scott?
We got Nick a different kind of phone.
Yeah. So we all had iPhones for a while, and Nick would continually steal our charger cords. They would just, not true. They would magically disappear because the no one child would take them. And then for a while, we had electrical tape on our charger cords. But then Nick would just take the electrical tape off. And so,
Different colored electrical tape.
yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure mine was red. I think Becca was green and Nick was blue. Yeah.
So you're just saying Android users are selfish and only consider themselves?
No, his is a Google. So
Still
it's still Android? Okay, well, obviously I know nothing about technologies.
Taylor, are you an Android guy?
I am not. I am an iPhone guy,
Yeah.
but it's because I have an iPad and a Mac, and they
Yeah.
all sync up seamlessly with each other.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
I bought the bit into the corporate Apple there, and
Yeah.
now I'm hooked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Cook loves you. It's all right.
I, honest to goodness, don't know enough about technologies that I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep having an iPhone because I don't know how to run anything else. So that's why I have one. Mom has an iPhone. Dad has. Do you still have a Pixel? A Google Pixel?
Yeah.
But you didn't upgrade it the other day when you made everyone else upgrade.
No, I did. Nick's old one that he gave me was dying.
Oh, good.
I revoke my Android comment.
Oh, that's cool. It doesn't. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, you literally have a computer in your pocket. Yeah. Yeah. Do y'all have anything else to say about parenting?
There's no manual. There's no manual to this, and
We
I
should
tell my
write one
parents
and make $1 million.
that no, the reason that there's no manual is because everybody's different. Every kid is different, and what works for one doesn't work for another, and what works for one family doesn't work for another. And
That's
the
true.
perfect parent in life is one that's never raised a child, biologically or otherwise,
Yeah.
because you kids need consistency, and they need love, and then they need more consistency and boundaries. And
Yeah.
if you do those things, I think any parent, regardless of their capacity or their level of education, will do just fine. Um, it isn't that hard. I see it every day. Just be consistent and love them and give them the boundaries they need to. So many of our parents are so afraid of
Yeah.
our kids feeling uncomfortable, or they're worried that if you discipline them or ask them to sit in a timeout share, that they're not going to feel loved. Well, you're right. They're not going to feel loved for the 5 minutes, but they're going to learn whatever behavior change that you need
Yeah.
them to learn. And if they don't learn how to behave in society, they're not going to be successful. And that is your job as a parent, is to create people that are
Yeah.
solid, successful citizens in our society.
Otherwise, they end up as spoiled little twerps.
What did you guys say? What were the worst two jobs? Pumping gas in Oregon, and what was Texas's worst job, Taylor?
Flipping burgers.
Oh yeah, flipping burgers either at Burger King or Mickey D's.
Yeah. Because Whataburger is prime.
It is classy.
If you
okay,
get to work for them.
it is a classy
All
organization.
All I'm saying is, what goes above? Who goes above flipping burgers at Whataburger, or making waffles at Waffle Home? Yeah.
Whataburger's way more prestigious than Waffle House.
I feel like it's the ambiance and like the legend of Waffle Home.
I feel like Waffle House is a step below McDonald's, so that may actually be the worst job. The only difference is there's a McDonald's in almost every town.
Yeah.
And I would rather do either one of those jobs than work as like a CNA at a hospital.
Facts.
That would be rough on me because of my personality.
Yeah, but you
and
make
I don't
way
think it matters
more
what
money.
you do for a living, as long as you take some pride in what you do and do a good job at whatever it is you choose to do.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. How did y'all find the line of, which like maybe we've kind of talked about it, but like finding the line between, like, do you decide in your brain, okay, like Kate called with this, she needs a parent right now, or she needs a friend right now? Any of you, either one. Doesn't
That's
matter.
kind of a hard decision sometimes. I think when your kiddo calls you and says, "Hey, what do you think about this?" They're asking for advice and they're asking you to be a parent.
Yeah.
If it's about a logistical thing in life, financial, school related, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But when you get to the social part of it or the emotional part of it, sometimes that line is a little blurred because they're needing a friend, but as a parent, you interject in a more of a parent role, right? And a good example might be,
I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit recently, like as far as relationships go, and like that you and I talking recently has been, I feel like, more friend conversations than parent conversations with what we have been talking about.
Yeah, and so sometimes we appear more as one of those very honest friends, right? That you can ask for honest opinion, and you're still parenting when you're doing that.
Yeah.
But like, several years ago you had a roommate situation and we told you some very hard truths about where this was going.
Right.
You weren't process that advice, you weren't ready to act on it, but we gave it to you and then let you chew on it for a while and see what you wanted to do, but it was ultimately up to you.
It took a while, yeah. So what she's talking about is when I was first diagnosed with Lyme's disease, and it was miserable, and I was on all kinds of different medications to try and get it better because like I was not doing good mentally, physically, emotionally, like any of it. And the gal that I was living with, her and I are really good friends now. But she had a boyfriend at the time that argued nonstop, and I couldn't sleep. And I was like, I don't really want to move out, but also like I can't function as a human. So it was that hard line of like, do I go ahead and move out? Do I not move out? And like obviously they both of them were like you need to find a new place. This is not working for you. This is not working school wise, like like just to function as a human. So yeah, I think that was hard. I think roommates are hard in general, but I think that it helps to have a sounding board that you can call.
And sometimes as parents, we would say, I wonder if they're voicing this opinion out to these people or at work or different times. And
Yeah.
you recognize, and Dad and I would both reassure each other, no, we're that safe place, we're that sounding board, we're that place where they can say all those things they can't say otherwise.
Yeah, I would
Right.
100%
But
agree.
as a parent, you're cringing, going, "Oh my lord, they just said that out loud about that situation."
Did Kate really say that? Yes, I do say that to y'all, not to everybody else. Like, I'll get furious and be like, this idiot, blah, 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 and go off. But, like,
And we will ask for reassurance, right? Kate will say,
yeah,
because
you didn't
are
tell,
you saying these things at work to your coworkers?
you didn't tell them that, right? I'm like, no, okay, that's why I'm in the break room talking to you about it or sitting in my pickup talking to you about it. So I don't actually go punch a coworker, friend, whatever it is.
We're glad that never happened.
Yeah, me too. Taylor's like, no, should have done it.
I was afraid to be a parent because I didn't think that I had the best experience being parented. So I was very hesitant to be a parent when we started this journey.
Yeah.
And when we did, it's like everything else. I'm not the best parent, never claimed to be. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
But if you work at it, you get better at it. And I think that I'm proud of the fact that we have a good relationship, all three of us. You, Nick, and Becca and I, and that you have a good relationship with your dad, because that takes some effort and some work. It's real easy to just go, whatever.
Yeah.
Got to keep working at it and forcing kids at different times in their lives, especially in that 14-year-old, 15-year-old age, to really engage a lot. Because there were times when we struggled to get Nick to engage about that time frame of his life. He did not want to engage with us. And I was afraid as a parent. I remember Dad and I being afraid when Nick was a senior because things were a little rocky and he just really wanted independence. He wanted to be out. He wanted to go to the fraternity at Oregon State, live there. And circled back around, and we have a great friendship with he and Brandy.
Yeah. Brandy is his girlfriend, for those of you following along, and she's fantastic. We love her. But yeah, no, Nick was very ready to be done with high school, which I think is hard because then I feel like, as I would feel like as a parent, like, oh, he's done being here. He doesn't want to be here with us. But it was just the fact that like Nick didn't love high school.
And had we known how miserable he was in high school, there's some things that we didn't know about, some bullying type stuff that was happening to him. We would have
should have told me.
We would have understood more.
Yeah.
No, that was his.
No, it was his thing.
He could share it if he wanted to, and he eventually did. But
I'm saying he should have told Becca and I, because Becca and I would have gotten insulted, even though we were like 14 and 12. We'd been like, "You think you're gonna be mean? False. Kick your kneecaps out."
Nick's always had really good judgment that way.
Yeah, he has. He always told us too, like any of the guys that we dated or anything like that. Becca and I asked him one time, we're like, why have you never been like, you can't date them, or I don't like, you need to break up with them, or you should date this guy? And he was like, I just never interfered because I figured if y'all needed help or assistance, you would tell me. And I was like, facts. That's both Becca and I, like from the get-go, I think, in relationships, we're like, we know that if he didn't have to be the like overprotective brother because we knew he was there if we needed him. So I agree.
What other questions do you guys have for parentals?
Scott hasn't said a whole lot.
Yeah, Scott, I'm sitting here, and one of my biggest fears is if I have kids, having a daughter. Like, that scares me to death.
You can be a girl dad.
What was that feeling like whenever the first significant other came in with either Kate or Becca? Like, did you go full, like, overprotective, start cleaning your gun at the dining room table? Or, like, what was the thought process and processing during that time?
It was a small town, so he already knew him.
So when Kate started doing TikToks here recently, I started watching TikTok, and then she's quit, so I since have taken it off my phone. But for the month or so that I watched it, there were several TikToks that said something to the effect of, when you raise your daughters, don't raise a princess, raise the kind of girl where when they come to pick up, you say, good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the plan for me, and it pretty much worked.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I have that was my approach. Seriously, that was my approach. My mother used to say, well, you're raising them to be boys, and I wouldn't say this, but I'd think, no, I'm raising them so that they're better than boys at the things boys do.
And we are.
I mean, we witnessed that at the grad party whenever you and Becca were just sitting on the tailgate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they both handle a horse better than most boys. They both rope better than most boys. They both manage cattle better than most boys. We didn't take time to hunt, so they're not accomplished hunters. But that's something that you can do later in time. Of the things that you can do during your high school years, where you only have the time to do that during your high school years, we worked pretty hard to make sure, or I wanted to work pretty hard. Susan may not have shared the same philosophy, but she maybe her goals were a little different, but similar on independence. She wanted independent thinkers and independent folks. And so I think that was the goal, raising daughters, back to the fear of raising daughters.
Yeah.
The other thing that you'd find, Taylor, is that when, you know, the 14, 15, 16-year-old boy could find maybe the left shoe, no idea where the right one, shit, he couldn't remember the last time he saw it because he'd been in socks coming across the yard for 2 days. The girls know exactly where the shoes are and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I especially, I think more so than Becca, probably have been that way since I was really little. Like, known where everything is all the time.
We called her Harriet.
Yeah.
After Harriet Spy, the little kids book.
Yeah.
Because she would pack. She had a little notepad, and she knew where everything was in our house.
Yeah. I know all of the going-ons.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, Scott. I appreciate that insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the girls are much more insightful. But the overall goal with all 3 kids was to raise them to be independent and have some self-confidence. And you do that by continually shoving them out there into situations where they feel like they're at risk, but they're supported.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's lots of different situations, from a wrestling match to Kate taking a 3-year-old through the snaffle bit futurity. It's just, those are scary situations. As long as they're supported, they go try, it works out. Then they go, hey, I took a little risk and it's worked out, so I'm going to take a little again.
Yeah.
And then pretty quick they develop some self-confidence, boys or girls.
Yeah.
And then they don't need other folks' affirmation all the time to know that they're all right. And that's a huge deal for a person.
Yeah. I think switching from like the parenting part of that to raise independent people, and like you were just talking about, Becca and I being very competent when we're horseback or otherwise, is I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago now, where it switches from that parent of like, I need to raise them specifically for Becca and I, like roping horseback in a branding pin. Switching from the parent of they need to know X, Y, or Z in order to be safe, first of all, and then after that to outrope everybody else. And I think it was 3 springs ago now, we went to rope at an uncle's. We show up, Dad gets a call, and Becca and I had not been roping. We'd been in school, and I think it was when we were back for COVID. And we pull in, unload horses. We're fixing to start roping. Dad gets a call that I think a bull was out. And yeah, Mom came down later to take some pictures, but I'm not. Normally, Becca and I both were like, you know what? Like, yeah, we know our way around a horse, and like we can do some cowgirl stuff. We're normally not like, we beat all of you. But that day, Dad had to leave, which sucks that Dad wasn't there to see it, but Becca and I had not been roping. Becca and I show up, and I think they put us up in the first pin, and Becca and I roped the shit out of everything. Like, didn't miss, 2 feet every time, like, and just like one after another, Becca and I drug him into the fire. And so Mom tells Dad later, she's like, you missed it. Because did you even show up to the end of that, Dad?
You guys were done by the time I got back, but Mom said it was embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt really bad for the young boys that were there trying to visit with you guys a little bit and rope, and they're all good friends, but
cousins, and yeah.
You two were just having a great time and yeehawing your horses and roping, and I was just scratching my head going, oh my gosh.
FedEx, that old gelding that I ride most of the time, every once in a while in the branding pen, he'll do this BS thing where he hops up and sideways and skirts around, and I'm just like, when he does it, and everybody's concerned that I'm going to come off on my head, and I'm like, nah, this is normal. It's okay. So yeah, that's how Beck and I, like, when we get on our bullshit, it doesn't stop. So, which is a good time for us, but not so much for everyone else involved. I think Taylor's been a part of that a little bit, but not near as much as other people probably. When Becca and I are on our bullshit and being a pain to everyone.
Yeah, no, usually Becca's like over
the
crowd,
that's
ready
true.
to go to bed.
Yeah.
Whenever we're just getting like ramped up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 9 o'clock and we're ready to play games. And she's like, no, I'm out of here.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
Meh.
Or she just like, I feel like Becca has this just massive disdain towards Hunter and I. And it started at the WT games.
Yeah.
And now like anytime we come around, it's just like, it's y'all too.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Type of deal. So
that's okay.
Haven't really seen y'all like start feeding off of each other in that way.
We try not to, because especially Hank, Becca's boyfriend, he's like, y'all need to be done. Like, this is not fun for anyone else involved. And Becca and I are just like, man, whatever. But
restaurants is the worst, Taylor.
What's the worst?
Restaurants, when you two are feeding off each other and being naughty in restaurants. It's embarrassing, and I just want to crawl in a hole sometimes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. When you guys are shooting your papers from your straws at each other, or you're watching the paper from your straws and throwing them at each other, that is not how you act in a restaurant. And that's when the little parent part of me comes out, not a friend person, a parent person, and it aggravates me.
Well,
just
if you
wanted
want
the record and recorded.
If you
You would not be a fan of any of the fan group, friend group down here when we go. We always pick up our trash, but we have a good time.
Yeah. Boo. Don't you want to have fun? Maybe next time, instead of getting aggravated, you throw paper at us too. It'll be fun.
You guys played football the other night at Joe Taco.
That's true.
With your little paper triangle, and you and Ryan with your little fingers up.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, paper football.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Still not impressed.
So, just raised in a different generation where you sat up politely and made sure that you were quiet and ate your meal.
But
it's generational, is all. I'm old.
But Becca and I both know how to do that if we need to.
And I also think it's like a different type of restaurant vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if it's like Joe Taco out in the patio area, it's
no rules.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, some rules, but no rules.
Basically, a step away from a food truck out there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where if we were going like to Pesqueros or Plaza or something like that,
Right.
like
Yeah,
obviously
we'd step
not.
it up. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that goes back, like, going back to the parenting thing. Like, in that situation, Susan, you could decide, make the decision at that point in time to be our friend and play games with us. But back to the parenting thing is that we both know how, Becca and I both, like Nick too, but like certain, like this exact situation, like Becca and I both know how, if we need to go, if we are going to like a 5-star steak dinner, we can also act accordingly as well.
So it really does, um, it really does beg the question, though. There are times for me in my little brain as a parent, restaurant, no games, but I have played my fair share of college drinking games with you people and been a great sport.
Yeah, you have.
Till the early hours of the morning.
Yeah.
So I just think it's situational for me as an adult.
Is that because it's public versus private?
Yeah.
Like the public establishment
Yes.
versus
Yeah.
private?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the dividing line for me most of the time.
Speaking of, I think Scott should play Rage Cage with us.
I think he should have to, and his drinks need to be carbonated as well, because that's way rougher.
Do we have a bad experience, Susan?
Fort Worth, Becca's 21st birthday.
Yeah.
It was a little rough. Katie's really handy with a ping pong ball, and her aunt and I are not, okay?
Yeah, they were not. We played Rage Cage, and they kept shuffling. Okay, I do not play many drinking games. Beer pong, I'm terrible at. Like, there's not Flip Cup, I'm pretty average. Rage Cage, like, let's go. That's my favorite, and the reason it's my favorite is because I very rarely get stacked. So they kept rotating who had to be behind me because I would just like stack them. I think Aunt Jenny was behind me for most of the time.
We planned that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like the most Kate thing ever.
Yeah.
I only want to play the things that I'm good at. The other things, I don't want to play at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so great segue, Taylor. Katie's in 4th grade, and we're sitting on a bench outside a gym. And
yeah.
It's basketball tryouts.
Basketball.
And we're sitting there, and she's like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this.
I don't want to play.
And I'm like, I want you to give me 3 reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't like physical contact.
Yep.
I don't really want to. I don't have a basketball.
Yep.
Like, we can solve the basketball issue. You're going to go play basketball and try out. You see, as a parent, you want to take away the excuses because you know that it's good, but they're just scared. They're just maybe apprehensive about their abilities fitting in and doing a good job. So you take those away by either support or just being firm, and you shove them out there, like Scott said, to something that maybe not is in their comfort zone. And Kate played basketball through high school and did a fantastic job with it.
But I didn't love it. I agree in the sense that it was good to force me to do that. But then, like, towards the end, my cousin and I are the same age, and we played together all the way through. And her and I had some serious conversations about not playing our senior year. So don't be the coach that ruins sports for kids because it makes it crappy. But, like, the experience itself, I think basketball was good team-wise. I mean, I played softball too, but the girls that I played basketball with my freshman and sophomore year were the best. But I think it's more so you have more parenting, I think, opportunities when it's an individual sport. Like, Nick was a wrestler, and then Becca and I rode horses. So
I do think that that's a good philosophy as a parent too. If you're going to have kids that like to do athletics, that it's a good balance to have team sports, but some individual sports as well, so that there's individual accountability, because you really have to nip that complaining about the coach and blaming it on the players in the bud with young people, because they're pretty desperate to feel accepted and be kind of in that limelight a little bit at times. You have to say, no, that mistake was on you. And if you are wrestling or horseback or skiing or whatever that individual sport is, it's all on you, and you have to take the responsibility for the failure or the success. And so I think a mix of those are good for kids.
Yeah, I agree.
Basketball was that way for me. It was an individual sport.
You were
Oh, I tried out for basketball. They said, you go to that basket over there and play by yourself.
Yeah, they told you no. It's okay. That's the other thing too, is that I think kids that need to be told no. Now, like before I was like, don't tell me no, I'm gonna do what I want to do. But I think now, probably more than ever, kids need to be told no.
Yeah, I also feel like I got told no exponentially more than I did yes.
Yeah.
Like, especially a kid, going out to a restaurant was a rarity, but whenever we did, like 2 years old, real little, I minded my manners.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be the kid throwing food around,
Well-
making a scene or anything, and now kids do that and they just get a phone or tablet shoved in front of them.
Well, and I would like to point out too that
Yep.
Becca and I did not screw around at restaurants.
I was too afraid to go to the bathroom or sit in the car and wait while my parents ate.
When we and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like Becca and I did not mess around near as much like in restaurants and stuff like that. Like it's been since we've gotten older.
Oh yeah, it's that, and this is another fine line, right? Because there isn't anything I can do about it now. When you're younger, because there was a consequence
Yeah.
for leverage there, and now you do it just to irritate me most of the time. So yeah, it's been more recent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you just join in, then it's fun for everybody and no one's irritated. Yeah. I don't know what it means, but I love it. Anarchy. Yeah. No, I agree. I think kids need to be told no. Kids.
And young adults.
But what is a young adult?
Not I. I age out.
She actually told us when she was little that she didn't like to hear the word no. She only liked to hear the word yes.
Yeah. But my first word was what?
Self.
Yeah. Because I was going to
She
do
didn't
it
do
on my...
everything.
Yeah. I was going to do it on my own. Didn't need y'all.
No.
Anybody. Not specifically my parents, but like anyone in general. Like I didn't need Nick's help. I definitely didn't need Becca's help. Like I was going to do it myself. But my judgment maybe was a little clouded at that age because I also wore Teletubby boots 24/7. So there's that.
Because you could put them on yourself.
Yep. I could do the Velcro all alone. Taylor's like, yes, ammunition.
No, mine was poo sandals because I could put them on myself.
Yeah,
and go.
see, yeah.
Didn't matter if it was
Yeah.
like 0 degrees in the middle of winter or 150 in the middle of summer.
Yeah,
I was rocking those poo sandals until they got too small for me.
these boots are made for walking. That's just what they'll do. All right, y'all have anything else on parents being your friends and your parent at the same time?
I think we've shared some of the high points. I don't know if Scott does, but there's next Sunday. I can always call in.
Yeah.
I'm older, so sometimes I have afterthoughts.
We can always extend it. Anyone can drop a comment after you like and subscribe, by the way. But yeah, take it to the comments, and if it gets crazy enough, we'll just have you call back in.
How
Dad,
do we subscribe?
when you're watching it on YouTube, you click the button that says subscribe.
Okay, so this podcast is on YouTube, but what about
Spotify.
Spotify?
Spotify is the same deal. When you go to Kate's Take on Spotify, you can click follow.
Okay.
Yep, and then it'll show up in your my podcasts and everything, your shows.
Gotcha.
So,
What's next week's topic?
ooh, I don't know. I'm trying to get back on here. So,
Usually these topics are decided about 30 minutes after she shows up.
yeah, I'm
So-
like, so this is kind of what I'm thinking. And then we're sitting here, like, everything ready to go. Taylor's like, you ready? I'm like, no. He's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, Kate's Take. Parents need to be your parents and your friends at the same time. Ah. So, that's how it happens. That's how the magic is made.
It's been fun to visit with you guys today.
We're so glad that we had you on here, and that you agree with Kate's take.
And we got to figure something out, like mobile recording.
Facts, yeah.
That's cool. So
For
thank y'all for being a guinea pig.
Yeah, for those of you following along, my parents are in Oregon, and Taylor and I are currently sitting in the Panhandle in Texas. So, super cool. You guys can call in from anywhere, and we can get you on here, and you can disagree with me about something, and it'll be fun. Kate's take.
We'd love to come back on someday. Sometime.
I think it would be a good time. We'll have you back. I'll
I heard
find.
Scott wants to be in person, though.
Yeah.
Yep, he does.
You're gonna be on the pod when you come in for
February. Yeah.
what about October?
Oh yeah, I'll cycle through in October, but I don't think I'll be there on a Sunday. I think I show up on a.
You show up on a Thursday and you leave on a Wednesday. But
Good news is I don't live here all the time, so.
yeah, we don't like always have this available to us, so that's cool.
Where are you living, Taylor?
Amarillo.
Yeah. It literally takes like 12 minutes to get here, so we could probably figure something out.
12?
Yeah.
You better watch out.
It doesn't take that long.
It's okay. We'll see you in October to have dinner anyway.
Facts. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Kate's take. Parents need to be your friends, but they also have to be your parents. Thanks for being on, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Right.
Bye-bye, Taylor.
Bye, Taylor.
If you or a loved one has been offended by any factual opinion that was expressed on this podcast, we sincerely do not care. Please feel free to send any comments, questions, concerns, or your own takes right to the garbage bin. In case that was too fast for you or it just went over your head, your take is trash. The only take that matters in this sphere is Kate's take.